My name is Amanda Martin, and I am doing my presentation on international law in the hospitality industry. A little bit of an overview. I would like to go over the hospitality background a little bit to kind of get everyone who is not familiar with it up to speed in a way. I will also then go over the article information, how international law, kind of just a little bit of a definition on that, and then how it actually ties together with the article that I've chosen. And then at the end, you will see a works cited. A little about hospitality, and it's defined as providing for the weary and taking care of those people who actually are traveling. And it's also from the French word hospice. As early as 40 BC in the Greek-Roman culture, they usually traveled for social and religious reasons. Romans had usually business travelers from earlier in the century, but throughout time, they actually became the first to host travelers that came for leisure. During the medieval period, inns actually were where English travelers stayed, and they were actually people's homes. During the Renaissance period, which is the 16th century, there was a higher demand for inns and taverns. During this period, the first hotel was built for about $17,500, and it included 60 beds. It was called the Hotel de Henry, and it was built in 1788. During the 20th century, pretty much it began right after World War II. In the 1950s, there was a big start of the cross-continental flights. In 1958, transatlantic flights became big. The first motel during this time period was built in California, at least in the United States era. There was a boom of inner-city lodging properties, a lot of increased interest in cruises, and from 1920 to 1982, many major restaurants were built. Those included White Castle, TGI Fridays, and Chili's. From 1960 to today, a lot of casual dining began to grow. A lot of hotel chains started to build their empires. Package traveling actually became a big thing where it usually included cruises, other travel things like maybe restaurants that you would go to. They also include the hotel. More than likely, there were a lot of possibilities that maybe a show, if it was, a good, probably I would say in the last couple years, that's probably been a big one. The show was added onto it. And it also became big on mergers and acquisitions, and that was one of the biggest popular things that became a priority for travelers. The article that I chose is about hackers getting into a hotel in Austria. They actually got in and they actually locked the guests out of their room. The guests were actually allowed to leave their room, but they could not get back in. And that also made a problem for the front desk, who actually had to remake the keys. They actually were unable to make keys as well because the hackers actually locked them out of that part of their job. They also were able to shut down the reservation system and the cash desk system. This is actually a 4-star hotel, so this is a major problem, especially when they were almost sold out that weekend, and it was just a large problem. So the hackers were actually asking for about 1,500 euros, I think, and um, and of course the hotel had to abide because it was a lot cheaper than having somebody come in and try and rework their whole computer system and everything like that. So it kind of made it difficult for them to, make that. They had to make a split decision, and more than likely that was probably the best in my opinion, because it's less costly to just give the $1,500 every time that somebody wants that than actually, paying somebody, probably 100,000 or more to come in and rework your entire system, or come in and even to investigate the entire thing. This would actually have been the third time that they were able to get in, and that's a big problem. They actually did try to do a fourth attempt, but the hotels actually changed their computer systems out, and it helped them to block them for that time frame. But the hackers actually, the way that they tried to get in the fourth time was because they left a back door open in the third time that they went in, um, to kind of help them weasel their way back into it. But of course, it was unsuccessful since um, the hotel was actually one step ahead of them this time. International law is the law that governs relations among nations and applies it to more than one nation, as defined by our book on page 15 to 16. There's also a mixture of rules and constraints that are actually brought out by many different sources that pretty much, rule the entire thing and help to govern international law. One concept that is going to be big, actually two of them, I'm sorry, that are going to be big in the article tying in of everything together is going to be treaty and international organization. A treaty is a formal international agreement negotiated between two nations or among several nations, as defined by our book on page 172. An international organization is composed mainly of member nations and usually are established by a treaty or a number of treaties, as also defined by our book on page 172. And all this will tie in together with the rest of my next two slides. The biggest thing about my article is about it being a cybercrime um, that can be done internationally or even nationally between states even. But it is a global problem. Especially in this situation, the electronic key system was actually a gateway to the data. The electronic key system that they were using at the hotel has all of the guest information on it, and I know in the one place that I work, it's Hilton. They actually have a digital key where you can actually check in with your key. I'm sorry, with your phone by tapping it up against the keypad that they're going to have on there. And that's where they got most of their information, and that actually has also, brought it into the United States where people can find out more information about guests. The biggest thing that you can tell that's the problem is the security. They really need to strengthen up their security standards and really make sure that everybody is following procedure to avoid this type of incident to happen again. There's a lot of exploitation when it comes to devices because sometimes they're not secured properly. So if the hotel has that extra barrier set up, it will make things so much better and a lot less convenient for hackers to get into their guest information. One thing that I noticed is that, there's a couple things called jackware and ransomware things. They kind of tie in together with this whole thing because the terms actually are denote to malware targeting and disrupting of services, with ransom demanded in exchange for the return of the device's normal functions. Jackware is mainly used to lock up the car, or in this case a hotel room or device, until you actually pay the ransom that they're looking for. Ransomware is targeted more towards the data aspect of it. So they took both of them and put them all together to lock these people out of their hotel rooms. And again, people might be mad at the hotel, but it wasn't anything the hotel could do about it other than trying to up their security. The biggest thing that I see here is, there's the global standards definitely could help out a lot. They really should, nations and countries, they should all work together to agree on some secure standards that kind of help them, work together to avoid this type of thing to happen again. And definitely international law can really put these laws kind of in with the international trade, um, because of the fact that, they can restrict certain imports and they can refuse any of their violations if anything is stepped over bound or somebody finds out that somebody's trying to get into their, information, whether at the hotel or in any type of the hospitality industry itself. Now, again, as I stated, loss of money is huge. You're losing a lot of money every single time you have to pay these people if they're going to hack you. The only other thing is, that would cost even more is upping your security and really delving in and trying to find somebody to find out what the biggest problem is. Again, the biggest thing in my opinion though is safety. Safety is a number one thing in my priority when it comes to me being, whether it's assistant general manager or a manager or a front desk person or housekeeper. I do not let anybody in the room that is not allowed to be in that room, because, or that I don't know they're allowed to be in that room, because again, it could be detrimental to our reputation as the hotel. So safety is the biggest thing in my opinion that drives my desire to want to not start work using the electronic key system. I know our hotel, they are looking into becoming a part of the digital key system that Hilton has, but I really would prefer not to, due to it being a safety issue, because I don't know who's going to be going in that room, and if they come down for a key, I don't know who that person is. I didn't see them when they walked in the door. I don't know. So I would rather them not have that. But again, Hilton makes it the point to make things a little bit more secure. But again, you never know if those hackers could definitely come in and hack out your system. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good rest of your day.